Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. Going to work on a few of my hives in Hamden today. Going to take a bit of honey off some of the larger hives and perhaps look at the brood chambers in a couple of the hives, maybe comparing some of the double deep brood chambers with the single deep brood chambers, or even the two nucs combined brood chambers. So we'll have a look shortly. We'll see what we can find. I am also today sporting a new bee suit. The other one was pretty much past it. It was about 8 or 9 years old. This one is a triple layered one. Even in a slight breeze, I can feel the breeze, which is much better. It feels a bit heavier. It's a different feel to the other type of bee suit. But I'll let you know what I think of it after a while. The thing I'm trying today, there's no breeze, so I'm trying the dead cat not on the microphone, so the sound may be a little bit different. Today we have, again, a very cloudy day, even cloudier than yesterday, if anything. And the bees yesterday got really busy. Once we got later in the afternoon, even before the sun came out yesterday, got busy later in the afternoon. But as you can see, as usual with the high humidity weather, we have bearding at the entrances on any colony that has a fairly good population of bees. And that's also very frustrating. It's a shame that the honey flows and things this time of year would really benefit from the sun shining. And so the bees aren't out there, even though it's warm enough for the bees. They really aren't out there because the plants aren't really producing in this heavy overcast. But once the skies lighten up a little bit, they will be busy. Next couple of days look interesting. It's going to be in the 90s. That's well into the 30s centigrade, and high humidity. It's going to be like the Gulf Coast, which is interesting because I'm heading to the Gulf Coast this shortly, and that will be sort of acclimatizing me before I go. So there's a few different colonies here. Most of my colonies in this area have been are now up to double brood chambers to give me the larger colonies for overwintering that I'll be putting nucs on top of. But I would be interested in seeing what's going on in this colony, two nucs side by side with sharing the communal honey supers, separated by a queen excluder. Looking at the populations on the two entrances, we have a very good population of bees on the left-hand pink colony. And the right-hand colony seems to be a little bit less strong. Now, this could be that we lost the queen in one colony and only have brood in one side, or it could just simply be the way the two different groups are behaving. But I see bees going in with pollen on the right-hand side, so we probably do have brood on that side. So let's have a look anyway. They're going to need some smoke on a day like today because our field bees are all indoors. We'll set up over here. So we'll start off looking in the brood chambers. See how they're progressing, see the signs of, I haven't opened up any of these hives to check details like this since the honey flow started getting going again. And this actually looks pretty promising. This kind of tells me that I wouldn't be surprised if we actually need another honey super on this colony. It's looking, it's looking very light in coloration. Bees are fully occupying every space. Combs being drawn out. And I would say, I'd be surprised if there isn't a lot of honey in this upper brood chamber. Upper honey super. So let's see how they look. Let's give them another puff of smoke here. Outside frame even has some weight to it. Frame is 60-70% full of honey. I'm liking this bee suit. It's a high humidity day, but the air moves through these triple layers really nicely. And it's keeping me cooler than the other suit was. The other suit's become unbearable in high humidity weather. Honey is starting to be capped here. I was thinking I wasn't going to be working my bees simply because I couldn't stand the heat tomorrow and the next day. The suit has arrived just in time. Okay, I would say that this super is 70 to 80% full. It actually needs another honey super. So Jordan, why don't you bring one of those medium supers over, because this actually needs one. Yeah, about 25 pounds, 30 pounds of honey in here. This super is certainly fully occupied by the bees. But this one is actually lighter. Ironically, that super is fuller. So this one has about 15 pounds of honey, and that one has about 25 pounds of honey. We'll just stack it up right here, and that'll be one of the last ones to go back on. Bees on the microphone, great. I should have put that inside the suit. Well, we learn, we live and we learn. Okay. So now we're looking in the double brood chamber afforded to us by the two nucs here. So of course there's no brood at all in the honey supers here, and in these boxes here we have much more going on. Well, right away I found our queen. The queen for this colony is right here. And we've got plenty of brood right out to the edges on both sides. Jordan, you want to hold this just for a minute so we don't lose the queen? So she's on this side here. I see. Just want to have a look at these. Having said that, I now see a couple of queen cells here as well. Now these might just be supersedure cells, but we shall see. I also see some on the bottom. So this colony looks like it would like to swarm. Now I've got queen cells all over here. So we've got this one just in time before it swarms. But that's aggravating. So we know we've got the queen there. So we're going to cut out queen cells here. We'll see if we can really tick these bees off, huh? Okay, so I'll just go through. Now, to my knowledge, last year I didn't have any swarming from these boxes with the double, the 2.5 frame nukes at the bottom. But this has certainly been an unusual year weather-wise, so things could be different. But queen is certainly occupying the space nicely. And with the honey flow coming back, we may be able to just take their attention off of the possibility of swarming. I'll put this frame in the middle because there's space in it. It's odd that these bees have chosen to build queen cells, or so many. But we'll put them in. Let's put her back in here. Actually, I'll take one out first. Make some room for her. Eyes on the queen, she's right there. It's going back in here. And we're closing up on that side. Let's see what's happening on the other side. There's that smoke. Bees are certainly ticked off. This weather is not normally the weather that is conducive to going into the brood chambers in the summer. We want the bees to be out and about. Plenty of brood here. Queen on this side has certainly been busy. And here's the queen on this side, so confirmation that we've got two good going queens in here, and we've got the queens on in both colonies, filling up, lots of brood. No signs of queen cells on this side, so hopefully by just destroying the queen cells we have and us getting into honey flow, we might be able to postpone any attempt by these bees to cast a swarm. This colony has a little bit of foundation to draw out as well. Okay, so we know our queen's in both of those. Hopefully we've prevented any attempt to swarm. Get our queen excluders back on. Make sure the gap in the middle is well covered, well pressed down. Where's our piece of wood? There we go. Put the heavy super down on the bottom, the way they were, or the way they should be really. The super is full of honey. Half full of honey. And we'll put that one on. And no honey. And close her up. So, our two nukes are doing well. They're on course to produce us we're just going into the honey flow. So there's every chance that this colony is going to produce us about 3 supers of honey, assuming we continue to have a honey flow. We may get more, but then we'll be able to take those nucs and overwinter them over one of these double deeps. So that looks great. I'm very pleased with that. I wonder if this double nuke one is looking the same. Okay, in this colony, again, we've got a bias of more bees on one side than the other. Let's put a lot more smoke in, Jordan, and we'll clear some of that growth in front of the entrance as well. And we'll have a look and see if we're getting the same reaction in our 2 colonies that we've set up with two nucs underneath the combined honey supers. And you can supervise the filming. It's funny, we've got some late blooming milkweed here. Bees are on it. Most of the milkweed is well and truly finished by now. It's got the seed cases already fully developed, but this one was late. I'll take the smoker, please. Okay, this, if we get a little bit closer, Jordan, this colony is, although they're building and they're filling this with honey, it's not as full of honey. This comb has very little honey in it right now. So this colony will not need another honey super for now. Having said that, this side over the green colony, the dark green colony here, is nearly full. So this colony is producing more honey up this side than this one is on this side. This side is relatively empty up here. This is pretty full right up to here. So when I put it back on, I may reverse them round, because they still, whilst they're acting like one big colony, they still also act like 2 colonies at the same time, going straight up above the highways between the frames and here. And again, this looks like it's pretty full in these 4 or 5 frames, and this looks less full. This might also be an indication of a lack of development down below here. So we'll find out shortly. That lack of development can be because we lost the queen on one side and not the other, but it doesn't look that way. Oh, that's heavy, hard to hold that. Certainly looks full of bees on both sides. Question is it full of brood on both sides? Look at the lower population side here. And we do have brood on this side, for sure. And young larvae. So we have an active laying going on this side. Just to be on the safe side, just in case the queen's there, I don't want to put it right there actually, because that would be going straight up and into the other colony. So that's some of the things you got to be a little bit more careful about when you're running 2 queens so close together. Sometimes it would be best to actually cover that side with a cloth, but I don't have one like that. But look at that brood developing so well. This side is certainly got a lot of brood going on. So they probably just got a little bit of a later start. Lots of brood. So they're getting ready for the honey flow, which is coming. And we're actually here. There is a honey flow here. So these bees, with all this hatching brood, are going to have plenty of resource, plenty of bees to work it and fill those boxes. So I'm not going to open up all the frames. I'll move out one more. We'll just not bother with that. So we'll close this up. So we've certainly got a queen in this side. Doing very nicely. Let's have a quick look on this side, just to prove we've got brood on both sides. And indeed we do. Plenty of brood, plenty of pollen. But if you notice, I don't know if you notice, there's not a drop of honey downstairs. So this area is entirely dedicated to brood and pollen, but almost no honey. Whereas there's quite a bit of honey in this hive, it's all above it. So that's a reminder, just to remind you, if you run colonies this way, you never take off all the honey without ensuring that you also give them plenty of feeding right away. Whether that's external or internal, these colonies could starve to death in a couple of days. If I just close this hive up right now, if there wasn't a honey flow, or if it was a rainy period, they'd be dead in a couple of days, because there's not a drop of honey in these boxes here. So we've seen as much as we need to see here. We've got 2 thriving brood chambers going on there. Make sure the queen excluder is down firmly so that no bees can get between them, particularly queens. And we're going to swap it round so that the empty space is above this colony instead of this one, at least on one of these supers. This was the heavier, or was it? I can't remember which one was on the top. The green was on the top. Thank you, Jordan. Okay, so storing it around this way now. So these 5 frames are full, pretty heavy on this side, fairly light on this side. So these bees who have been so productive in producing that extra honey will get working on this side. Likewise over here, I'm going to do the same thing. And I would say both of these supers, so I'm changing my opinion, because both of these supers have about 20 pounds of honey. There's a room for maybe 10 more pounds in each, but I wouldn't hesitate to put another honey super on the top of this one. So I'll take when I take the camera off Jordan, if you don't mind getting another honey super on here. So in this yard, I've only got 2 pairs of 5-frame nucs on top of the below communal honey supers. This pair and this pair. But both are doing extremely well. For 5-frame nucs, which I'd have to check, but I'm almost certain I set these 5-frame nucs up the last weekend of June. The last weekend of June, because that's when I had an open hive meeting for Penobscot County beekeepers. And we set up this pair of nucs and this pair of nucs on the same day. We only had a couple of weeks of good honey flow, so these nucs were still only just standard nucs. I just took them off my stack of nucs that were normally being sold, put these honey supers on, and I would say on average there's between 30 and 40 pounds of honey that could come off on this hive, and there's about 30 pounds of honey on that pair as well, maybe 40 as well. So with this extra honey super on and the honey flow getting going, I'm confident these hives are going to produce me something in the order of 70 to 80 pounds of honey from 2 nucs. And that's assuming they only fill what we've got here. The honey flow is just beginning, And I had colonies like this produce a super of honey a week during the peak of the flow last year in a few of my yards that had such really good flows. So we shall see shortly as to whether that will be maintained. Get some of the hazards for flying out of the way here. So I'm delighted with that. The 2 nucs each so far, a pair of nucs producing about 40 pounds of honey so far, and that's before we really get into the fall honey flow. So full honey flow's coming. Oh, let's see if we can't get 80, even 100 pounds out of a pair of nucs, 50 pounds a piece. I had some last year that produced about 150 pounds, so 75 pounds of honey a piece. So let's see what happens this year. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.